Welcome to Pax Europiana here from Belgrade, and I'm here below in front of the Croatian embassy, and I would like to compare now Croatia and Serbia in the last 30 years, because it's very important since independence, the different development. Now Belgrade is also a nice city, nothing to be said. I was just showing you the development of Belgrade at the waterfront, and Belgrade has also developed now in year 2022. But compare it please to Croatia, and I think that's the two big parts of Yugoslavia, Serbia and Croatia, and compare the two now 2022. Croatia is in NATO since 2009, in the European Union since 2013, is now in the Eurozone, that will happen now next year, is now very close to Schengen 2024, is now in OECD, that will happen also too late of course, but it is also decided for 2024. So it's in all extent and purposes fully integrated in everything. If you have reached NATO, EU, OECD, Schengen, Eurozone, you are fully in the West. So much in the West, even Austria is not, for example. You are a full member of the Security Alliance, of the Economic, Global, WTO, everything you have achieved, and that's a huge success for a country that was still at war of independence, was won in 95. So we're talking now 25 years, 27 years later, we are talking about full integration. Let's say then it will be 2024, so roughly 30 years for the full integration in the free and Western world, in what we call the West, the free world or whatever. The terms, I'm in favor calling it the transatlantic community of values, so many different terms, but fully inside for a country that was at war of liberation still within 30 years, it's a big success. And Croatia is now also from GDP level about double as rich as Serbia. This is also a huge success, from $7,000 per capita to 14, and they were more or less equal in 1990, let's say equally poor. In really in a hyperinflation Yugoslavia, there was equally poor levels. Maybe some parts of Croatia at the coast were already developed, but also not so much. I was there, I saw it. Believe me, it was not fantastic. Not like it is today. It's actually fantastic today, and you see some of my videos of Dubrovnik and the coast from my last year's trip. And anyhow, many of you have been to Croatia. It's fantastic there. Here it's also nice, but it's far behind. It's far behind because Serbia is still not fully part of the Western world. It's not institutionally just a EU candidate country. It has even not deserved that one because it's not recognized Kosovo. It is against our sanctions against Russia. It's neutral or pro-Russia in this war now because they have not closed the sky, they have not joined the sanctions. A lot of Serbs are fleeing or transiting via Serbia. This is a complete geostrategic failure of the Serbian leadership, and it's very much connected with the Djindjic killing of 2003 when Serbia pivoted back towards the east because they all got the message why he was killed. And so the foreign policy of Serbia shifted back to Russia and to Putin. That's the fact. And then the great divergence came, and Slovenia, Croatia now fully in the West, and Croatia especially astonishing because it was war devastated. Two parts were still occupied, Eastern Slavonia and the Krajina. And it took in 99 in August the war to unify and liberate, and then it has fully integrated in the West. I'm not totally happy with everything what Croatia does now. I made a video about that one. Please refer to the video in Dubrovnik, because they could also be much more open economically, lower taxation, fully for Bosnia and for Kosovo in NATO, and less of this tribal policy in Bosnia. So I'm far from being full in for Croatian foreign policy in the Balkans at the moment. I think they have not really done and lived up to that standards. But nevertheless, when you compare it with Serbia, it's amazing. And then also let's compare Croatia with Ukraine, because it's also a pro-Western Slavic nation which is breaking away from the big brother, but we have failed Ukraine. And here we have really failed because Croatia got the full support, the integration opportunities, the access to the EU, NATO and OECD, and for Ukraine, because we were partly paralyzed by massive Russian intervention in our political systems, partly for fear, partly for greed, partly because of lack of knowledge and of lack of courage for the task, because it's bigger, more complicated, Russia closer and more involved. We have shied away from the task of fully integrating Ukraine, and obviously the war is now Russia's way to solve things. That's what they do, they solve things with violence, and that's the tragedy of today. So what we need to do is to repeat the success of Croatia after the war. The war will stop one day, or hopefully soon. I've made many videos about that one already. But then what is then afterwards? The post-war status settlement must be the same like with Croatia. Integration in NATO, EU, Euro, OECD, Schengen, and all the Western integration. Only then there will be security, stability and peace. That's the only way. The Croatian model must be the way for the unity and for the success. Unity will be difficult, but for the BRD model, I have made also many videos about that one. But the comparison is very clear that Ukraine is the new Croatia, and Serbia should really take a role model on Croatian success of integration. We are very serious as a West with countries who are serious with us, and that's the proof. And the prosperity is documented, and the progress is much bigger. And imagine one day, if Djindjic were not killed, it would have been possible for Serbia as well to join NATO, the EU and the West as fast as Croatia. And what a wonderful and peaceful Europe we would be if that would be possible. But Putin has stopped us and has blocked us and destroyed Western integration of Serbia and of so many other countries, especially where he had the rollback agenda from the start, the countries which he sees as his kind of domination territory, and Serbia and Ukraine very clearly belong to that category. Yes, that's the tragedy of Europe. We have neglected Eastern Europe too long. Now we pay this massive price, and we have to change that. We have really to take Eastern European security integration much more serious, and Croatia is the role model for that. Thanks a lot for listening. More to come from Pax Europiana. Bye.